All right, well, we got Trump talking to Putin. Looks like ending the war pretty much for Ukraine right now. Egg prices down, oil prices down, countries evening their tariffs on the U.S., criminal illegals being flown out of the country and put in El Salvadorian supermax prisons, Israel pounding Gaza into a parking lot. And what's the Democrats' response? Like, what are they doing? A day of action. And what does that include? Does that include stuff like this?
But if that doesn't happen, there will be violence. Yes. And these people had the opportunity to stop it. And they didn't. They don't care. They are. They're cowards, every single one of them.
You say they will be violence, huh? Okay. You bring your pool noodle, your oat milk latte, and that can I talk to a manager attitude anywhere but that protest. You drive 20 minutes outside of your liberal city, you try that same act, and when the Hills starts singing Country Roads, let me know how you feel, lady, because you have a great deal of people, like myself included in that are super peaceful, we're law-abiding citizens, but we have been waiting for just such an occasion you are proposing. Okay? But really, there's no action today. They're just going to whine about more stuff. Even Gayle King had her doubts this morning.
Hakeem and I, we have a day of action on Medicaid. In every state, in every corner of the country, Democrats are talking about they're going to Medicaid centers. They're going to people who would be deprived and
Senator, people don't have faith in the Democrats.
Well, let me say this. Look, and we're going to do this day in, day out on issues.
No, you're not. That's your action. You're calling for things. You're efforting. You're talking. You're holding press conferences. It's because it's not action. Because Democrats can't take action. And you want to know why? Because Americans, like you and I, threw them out of power because of their action over the last 4 years. That made everything cost more. So no more action, please. But if you watch the legacy media, you would think that the Democrats have all the answers. That they're the good guys, and the sky is falling because of the things that Trump is doing. The woman in charge of the teachers union, Randi Weingarten, who doesn't have kids, by the way, would have you think that cutting the Department of Education means that children aren't going to be educated anymore. They're not educated now. And Randi Weingarten wants you to believe that is why she's mad?
It's like evisceration by 1,000 cuts. Yeah. So you want to do this? Have the fight with us in Congress. Let's make sure we get the issues out there. I'm so mad. I'm spitting mad about this.
The issues are out there. The issue is that our kids are dumber. She's not spitting mad about our children not getting an education. And I know that for a fact because she has never been spitting mad before while test scores were plummeting into the toilet. No. She never said a word about that while it was happening. Her job is to stand up for teachers' unions. She says it's for the kids, but her actions always end up benefiting the teachers' unions and not the kids. Weird, huh? She's spitting mad because they're cutting federal funding that fuels her political machine, which is the teachers' union that she chairs. See how this whole thing works? Meanwhile, you and I have been beating the podium at our kids' school board meetings because we're worried about our children's education, not about the teachers' benefit packages and their retirements. Randi Weingarten wasn't ever there for that. But if you turn on The View, the action they want you to think is that Trump is going to throw this country out of order, all this stuff. Roll this.
If they can just come up and take somebody because they've made a decision that you are supposed to be that person, any one of us could find ourselves being deported.
Okay, Whoopi. That's not what they're doing. Trump is not pointing at people and saying, oh, I don't like you, and throwing them out of the country with no trial, despite I would love to have Whoopi Goldberg thrown out of the country, but you can't do that. This is the same party that screamed about misinformation for 4 years. You want to know who Trump is deporting? People like this. Honduran illegal alien who ignored ICE detainers. He was previously arrested for raping a child. And this woman, who had previously been deported and was convicted of selling fentanyl that kills people, and thousands of other people just like this. Yet you've got an activist judge literally trying to order Trump to turn planes around in international waters in the air, okay, to bring these type of people back to America. Headlines are saying Trump is just out there willy-nilly violating court orders because he feels like... They're saying we're on the cusp of a constitutional crisis. No. So many of these orders have no statutory authority to be issued in the first place. And beyond that, take that judge who I mentioned earlier, James Boasberg. His daughter, who has now taken down her LinkedIn page, works for a nonprofit that helps illegals, whose founder has been very vocal about the order being the right decision from him. She celebrated on her social media account with her coworkers. Her coworker's father issued the ruling that could potentially benefit her firm's work. And all this was discovered on the internet by Laura Loomer, no doubt. She ran all the receipts on her Twitter page. This is a conflict of interest. But Steve Miller pointed out even further why this judge can't do what he just did.
Well, so first of all, there's a term in law, justiciable. This is not justiciable. In other words, this is not subject to judicial remedy. When the president is exercising his Article II powers to defend the country against an invasion or to repel a foreign terrorist that is unlawfully in the country, he's exercising his core Article II powers as commander-in-chief.
Is Venezuela invading the U.S.?
This is a very important point. This is a Title 50 authority. It's a commander-in-chief authority. So just to ask you a simple question, you talk about how the system works. Does a district court judge have the right to direct or enjoin troop movements overseas? Yes or no?
Well, Stephen.
Oh, yeah, well, yes. And all the libs are spazzing out over Trump violating a judge's order. No, he didn't. This is like a judge ordering you or me not to breathe. Would you tell him to pound sand? And all the libs freaking out like, look, I would not listen to that court order. So, Cassie Hunt on CNN, the Supreme Court already weighed in on stuff like this. But the good people at CNN don't do research. And since we actually care about getting it right here at this network, Cha Chang-ping, versus the United States, 1889, established the, quote, plenary power doctrine, affirming that the political branches, Congress and the president, have nearly unchecked authority over immigration matters, often beyond judicial interference. Weird. Further, Mississippi versus Johnson, 1866. The President of the United States cannot be restrained by injunction from carrying into effect an act of Congress alleged to be unconstitutional, nor will a bill having such a purpose be allowed to be filed. And since Article 2 of the Constitution placed immigration under federal control implicitly through the powers over foreign affairs and national sovereignty, Trump was right. Another ruling, if CNN had even bothered to look. 1954, Galvin versus Press, reinforced the president's role in executing deportation policies. Sole authority in his office. In other words, some piddly little judge with an agenda, some district court judge has no ground here. No more ground than me standing there and just issuing some order. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, Cassie, over at CNN. This is TDS to its highest level we have ever seen, like these people whacking sticks on the ground because Trump won. But fortunately, Minnesota is taking a step towards fixing this, introducing a bill to address it. And the bill says, quote, Trump derangement syndrome means the acute onset of paranoia in otherwise normal persons that is in reaction to the policies and presidencies of President Donald J. Trump. Symptoms may include Trump-induced general hysteria, which produces an inability to distinguish between legitimate policy, differences in signs of psychiatric pathology in President Donald J. Trump's behavior. This may be expressed by 1, verbal expressions of intense hostility towards President Donald J. Trump, and 2, overt acts of aggression and violence against anyone supporting President Donald J. Trump or anything that symbolizes President Donald J. Trump. Please make this a national bill.
He loves the Constitution. He fights for what's right. He hates the bad guys. He's a freedom warrior. He's your freedom warrior. Watch Carl Higbie every weekday on Newsmax.